welcome back to the Nasty Metal production channel here at YouTube. After releasing their independently released Ready to Rock in 2004, the band strikes a deal with Capitol EMI Records. And of course, I'll guess what, maybe early 2007, the band goes into the studio with famed producer Bob Marlett, who you probably recognize that name on releases for Ozzy Osbourne, Rob Zombie, and of course, Canada's metal legends, Anvil. Go into the studio to hammer down about 20, almost a little over, or close to 20 songs, but only 11 songs got picked, and those 11 songs became what would become their smash hit debut album titled Runnin Wild. Released on the 23rd of June over in Australia through Capitol EMI Records. This is pretty much what all of Australia ended up getting the second taste of, at least to a much wider Australian audience, of what Airbourne were about during their venue and club days. So, with all of that, this album, of course, by the time it actually hit the States, or at least the US and the rest of the world, through Roadrunner. I don't know how that happened. I guess a deal must have, it wasn't much of a long-term deal. But again, with that, it went, ended up getting re-released by Roadrunner to be released at least nationally. Of course, I'll get to also as far as the difference between the two. That'll be a little later within this video. But again, let's just really focus on, again, this album also produced 3 of the band's biggest hits. That being, of course, the opening track, Stand Up for Rock and Roll, the title track, Runnin Wild, which, of course, for the music video, I should point out, also featured one of the band's heroes, that being, of course, the late Motorhead frontman bass player, Lemmy Kilmister. And, of course, the third big hit up here well, Too Much, Too Young, Too Fast, which the first time the first time I heard Airbourne was through this song. It was actually in the movie Lost Boys: The Tribe. Now, I ain't going to point out the particular scene, but this was the first time I actually heard Airbourne before finding out that this was Airbourne in the video game Guitar Hero World Tour. Which, of course, maybe go and check out Airbourne, and pretty much at the time, all they had out was this and Ready to Rock, and those were pretty much, these two were my introduction to this band. So again, with these containing 3 mega hits already for a new band, this band was nominated for many award shows as one of the best upcoming rock bands for the time. And still to this day, I still think they are definitely one of the best rock bands to come out of the modern era. I still think that these guys are actually better than another self or proclaimed by magazines as by the big rock band out of Australia, that being Wolf Mother. Alright, so again, just a big record for this band. This was a huge album. Again, for a debut album, this probably was, I don't think anyone has seen much of at least for a hard rock band, a big of a debut than in a long time, probably since Van Halen with their debut album in 1978. And again, this was almost, 30 years at the time? Pretty much close to being 30 years for a band. 30 years since Van Halen's debut. So with that, again, just a big record. Again, just like you got with the Ready to Rock EP, or 8-track EP, it's pretty much the same. Just this time, again, more produced, thanks to the production of Bob Marlett, who was definitely able to give the band a much more, I guess I hate to use the word cleaner, but it definitely sounds a lot more honed in. Of course, Joel O'Keefe's vocals aren't nearly as gravelly or as low as, or that sort of low almost register, but still almost gravelly kind of on Ready to Rock. Instead, he's going for a much more higher register, almost kind of reminding me like a lot more higher, more almost woke Angry Anderson. And again, you definitely get some of those same AC/DC Rose Tattoo influences, but this time you really get to hear broader influences from other bands that were kind of almost compared to AC/DC, either be, the Angels, or maybe at some point the Choir Boys, or Crocus, or even at times maybe early Saxon. Again, this is just great, almost meat and potatoes, no bullshit, classic hard rock and roll. Again, I can almost say about every one of these tracks, but again, every one of these songs, even depending on, here we go, I guess depending on what copy you got, to either Let's Ride or Hellfire. Both are all good tracks, but I've been more so, pretty much, more familiar with the U.S. or nationally released version of Running Wild, which ends with the song Hellfire, which is a fast, almost Led Zeppelin on speed, hard rockin' number. Just great track. Yes, it's got almost a Led Zeppelin feel within the riff, but it's just more sped up, almost pretty much on cocaine, basically. It's just literally just fired up. It's what it lives up to the title. Just a great track. Of course, nothing against the song Let's Ride, which is only can be found on the Australian pressing, which was released by Capitol EMI. So technically the Capitol EMI pressing, which I think that's the one of the songs that was produced by Bob Marlett. But Hellfire wasn't. It was actually produced by the band, or I think were just, again, one of the leftover songs. But somehow they must have felt for the Roadrunner pressing, it was a much more better fitting track to end it. Just, again, in a much more fast, loud, in-your-face way. Even though, again, Let's Ride was also a pretty good track, too. Of course, let's now get to the various bonus tracks, which, of course, if you were able to get the deluxe pressing, which I think was also at one point released by Capitol and EMI, you would have got about 5 songs. 3 were recordings from the Ready to Rock EP, which were being Stand and Deliver, Harder Than Hell, and Dirty Angel. Now, I really prefer the Ready to Rock version because they were the versions I was mostly familiar with and the most used to. I love the version of Stand and Deliver on the EP. It's just a little more slow. It's just a little more heavier. This one's more closer to what you got if they played it live. It's a lot more faster, more harder, and I definitely could see that as definitely an appeal. But you would get 2 songs, 2 newer tracks for it. Title was it Red Dress Woman and Heads Are Gonna Roll. No, that's not a Judas Priest cover, but it would have been interesting if they covered it, the Judas Priest song. But still, it's a good track nonetheless. So overall, 11 tracks, almost clocking around 35 or 36 minutes, and you're pretty much just blasting in the head with just, again, loud, abrasive, no BS, kick you in the face, good time, hard rock and roll that definitely gets the crowd pumping. That's the way what you're going to get with it. And again, to this day, they live up to the idea and the whole, just the basic idea of no bullshit hard rock and roll. They still do it to this day, and that's why I think why they still got the following that they have. So with that, it's a classic album. Running Wild definitely, in a way, solidified the band as definitely one of pretty much modern era's classic version of AC/DC. And of course, with some of the bands, or the recent situation with AC/DC, and of course, Rose Tattoo and other bands, Airbourne, I can definitely see. Definitely is raising the flag, and that's no pun intended, but that'll definitely get on to the next release. Anyways, again, they've been raising it to this day, and that's pretty much what the band is known for, and that's why everyone loves them, and why I love them. So again, just a classic release from them. Definitely a great way to definitely kick off the band in the mainstream outlet. So here from out, we'll see what the band was able to do. If they're able to keep that in, keep that status going. So until then, hope you all enjoyed. So, hope you all take care, and this is Everything I Sam out.